Hey everyone, my name is Gerard Dragon Rider Khalil, and this is my YouTube channel. Recently, I hit 1 million subscribers here on YouTube, and I've always felt this weird disconnect between what people see and think of me in my content and who I actually am as a person. The whole draw my life trend kind of came and went years ago, and honestly, I never really pictured myself ever doing it, but I kind of thought, hey, if I'm gonna do it, now's the time. So, welcome to my Draw My Life, the Completionist story thing. So from the second I was born, I was a problem child. I was born in Los Angeles, California, January 3rd, 1988. And unfortunately, I wasn't the most healthy baby. Turns out that I had this big blue spot on my back that turned out to be something called a hemangioma. And more specifically, I had spinal hemangioma. Instead of having lower back muscles, I basically had a tumor embedded into my spinal cord where my hip meets my tailbone. In the 80s and early 90s, the tech wasn't as good as it is today, and so that meant that I had to get dozens of operations, lots and lots of corrective surgeries. In fact, just a quick little note, I have a massive scar on the right side of my jaw, and that's actually the main reason why I grow a beard, is to hide that scar. Doctors believed that by the time I would be 5, my immune system would be strong enough to just kind of get rid of this thing, and unfortunately, when I was 3 years old, I fell off a swing and landed right on my back. This caused the mass inside of me to triple in size, and since then, I have lived my life very close to the chest in terms of physical activity. So aside from being a parent dog, I'm the youngest of 5. My dad is from Lebanon and migrated to the United States when he was super young. With $50 in his pocket, no knowledge of American culture, and the world being his oyster, he worked tirelessly at several jobs. He went to school. He wanted to become the ideal American and prove that he could make it in the US. And he met my mom while he was on the job. He used to work at a gas station, and my mom ran out of gas one day, and that's how they met. Love at first sight, kind of, I guess. I don't know, it's a weird term to use now. I grew up in a pretty fortunate town called Palos Verdes, which is one of the most wealthy parts in California. However, Palos Verdes is the kind of place where just being well off meant that you were dirt poor, and being rich meant that you were basically the 1%. My mom and dad worked tirelessly to make sure that all of us kids were well taken care of. Soccer practices, cheerleading, cotillion, girls and boy scouts, piano lessons, wonderful educations with tutors. My parents poured their lives into us kids. But for me, I couldn't do any of those things. So I played video games non-stop. I wanted to be the best gamer at school, the best at Mario, the best at Sonic. I wanted to capture all the Pokemon. I made sure that I was the first kid in my class to have 101%ed DK64 before anyone else. A lot of that passion came from my parents, who refused to buy me games every time I wanted one. They would tell me, if you want to get a new game, you have to show us that you completely finished the one that you currently had. Blockbuster was a godsend for my parents, and it saved them a ton of money. Unfortunately, this is where things kind of go weird. My dad was traveling a lot for his new business that he'd started at the time, and it was up to my mom to watch us kids. I was 10 years old when my mom started acting very bizarre. She stopped making me lunches, stopped picking me up from school, and I'd end up having to walk home several miles. Stopped really being there for me. For a brief moment, she stopped caring. Mind you, this is my perspective, and my siblings have their own. This rabbit hole was just the beginning of so much more, but that's for another time. After years of family drama and massive insane events that ultimately feel like a super bizarre film, we found out that my mom was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia, or FTD for short. This dementia went from the front of the brain to the back, so my mom lost a lot of her vocabulary and motor skills really early on. She went from being very aggressive and fearful of her life, that everyone was trying to hurt her or control her, to that of being a young child who loved to color, read, and kiss and hug my dad every night before bed. My life changed drastically that day. My family grew closer, but we had to bind together to create a routine. Who fed her? Who bathed her? Getting caretakers to help when we were too busy. We did our best to be there for her every step of the way. From diagnosis, the doctor said that she had about 18 months to 5 years to live. But because my family and I fought so hard, my mom lived 15 years after diagnosis, and she passed away just a few years ago. So, for most of my young adult life, I didn't have a mom, I couldn't do physical activities, and I was just kind of in my own little bubble. In high school, my love of video games disappeared. I became obsessed with theater and film, and I wanted to become an actor or a director or both. I had two wonderful teachers named Carrie Hayter and Sasha Duncan who changed and saved my life. They inspired me each and every day to create and share with the world, and because of them, I knew I wanted to entertain. So I went to college thinking that I was going to develop a pure passion for film and theater and change the world. And all I learned was that my passion needed to be beaten down into reality so that it was nothing because, hot damn, I felt like trash. College was a rough time for me. I didn't have that many close friends except for my buddy Fraser Perez-Yadon and Greg Wilmot, who both had their own lives going on. And my high school pals were long gone doing their own thing. But I wasn't alone. I had friends in high school that went to a rival high school of mine, and for years we were kind of taught to be just that, rivals. Little did I know that I would be close friends with Michael Barrity, Zan Alda, Alan Barstow, and Alex Kramer. Without these guys, I wouldn't have learned to be as funny and as fearless as I was throughout my college years. And all we wanted to do was create. So create we did. We created and created and created. Short sketches, plays, films, one-acts, whatever we could do, we did it. And my passion for gaming also reignited because of these guys. We created so many different web shows and films that honestly, no one watched, but it didn't matter because we loved making them. Eventually, our old pal from high school named John Jafari was hanging out with us, and he told us he made this thing online called JonTron, and it was blowing up. We started hanging out with him more, helping him film stuff. We were all just kind of hanging out and shooting the shit together. When I finally graduated with my degrees in theater and film in 2011, I moved back home with my parents, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I was working a part-time job at Best Buy, and I felt myself going nowhere fast. But I was obsessed with video games again, and I wanted to share my skill with the world. So, I started live streaming. Now, this was something that no one really had figured out to do full-time online, really. I kind of sat there and figured out how to do it all for myself, and I was streaming with my pals. Eventually, one day, John calls me and asks if we can have a live stream at my house with some of his friends, and I said, sure, why not? Little did I know that this instance would change my entire life. I met Aaron Hansen, also known as Egoraptor on Newgrounds and YouTube, and Brooke Lawson, also known as Dodger from the YouTube channel Press Hard to Continue. In meeting them at my house, I worked as a silent tech producer to ensure that John and his friends could have as much fun possible playing all of my games. Thousands of people watched this event while I sat silently in the back of the room, and I would change the consoles and games accordingly whenever they asked. Whenever I did this, I was looking at the chat and I saw it blowing up. People screaming in all caps, "Beardman, beard dude, epic beard, bro. Yo, dude, that's a tight beard. Our beard god has come upon us." I was blown away at how all this freaking worked. I didn't know what was going on, but I was definitely impressed. I spent a couple of hours hanging out with the two of them, and I picked their brain, asking dumb and naive questions. And suddenly I knew, this is it. I have to do something. One last video project. Something that would make me either say, hey, this is my passion combined, this is me, this is all of me, or I would go back and rethink my entire life. So I asked myself, what do I love to do? I obviously love video games, and I do love film and TV, but how can I combine all of these things? And I took one aspect of my life that I kind of kept a secret and made it my biggest strength, my identity. I am a completionist. I went to YouTube and I searched for the completionist, and at the time, the only thing I found was a gentleman who had a YouTube channel called The Completionist. But it wasn't really a career for him. He was just doing it on his own. I asked him if I could make a show called The Completionist and if that would interfere with what he was doing. And to my surprise, he encouraged me to just go ahead and do it. So I quit my job at Best Buy. I spent all of the money I had on my name on capture equipment, microphones, cameras, computers, the works. And I spent 2 months making a video about one of my favorite games of all time, Mega Man X. I took a long time because I was a stickler for structure. It was always something I took seriously when it came to long-form media, but I wasn't happy with what was going on. As an actor, writer, performer, for the first time in my life, I felt awful. I felt unfunny. I wasn't confident. I didn't have that oomph that I used to have. So I invited my friend Greg over to look at my video. He thought it was funny, and he started doing voices and jokes that I wrote, and he made them better. Originally, I wanted to make a website called thatonevideo.com. It was a place that would almost be a competitor to YouTube, where it was a website that features awesome videos that were viral. So I made the YouTube channel That One Video Website. The idea behind it was that I could push my audience from YouTube one day, if I ever got one, to the site to create something cool and unique. I eventually ditched that idea altogether and made That One Video Gamer in its identity in two fronts. One, I would be synonymous with the idea of being that one video gamer, as in, hey, have you seen That One Video Gamer? Or, yo, dude, That One Video Gamer though? And two, from a branding front, I can make side channels like That One Musician, That One Artist, That One Filmmaker, so on and so forth. The idea being that anyone could be these things. But at the same time, these were things that would stick out to make them known. Generic, yet specific. I released that first episode on Mega Man X on The Completionist, and the internet loved it, but they also hated it. I learned quickly that the jokes I was writing were not appropriate for kids. I made very edgy jokes in that very first episode that were so shocking to say the least. By the second video, almost all of the filth humor was gone, and a lot of my analysis wheels started kicking into high gear. I used to print out YouTube comments and highlight them with red, orange, and green highlighters to try and determine what was a good comment, what was a bad comment, and what was true constructive criticism. And I used that data to shape how I made the show. More of this, less of that, so on and so forth. And from here, my new career had taken off. For years and years, I did the same thing each and every week. I took a game, completed it 100%, wrote the script, did the voiceovers, edited the video, and published it. Every week, and all of you guys showed up. I learned that bringing in more people to help was what I wanted. I wanted to be a career starter. So I brought in Alex Fossiani and Kelly Whistler, with producer Michael Barity, to start a Pokemon channel called The National Dex for their show, The Dex. And at the same time, Alex and I would go on to make Super Beard Brothers. This was our Let's Play initiative. This led us to eventually getting our own office space and starting an awesome community with the help of you guys at home via Patreon. And initially, we failed a lot in those early moments. Created a website, other side channels, other projects. Some of them still exist to this day, most don't. But at the end of the day, the completionist still has to complete games. But not all things last forever. And when the channel reached around 250,000 subscribers, Greg and I were not doing great. Our friendship was falling apart. Things were becoming very toxic between us personally. And the writing was on the wall for many of us in-house. And thus started the big public controversy of Greg leaving the channel. I know there's a lot of theories out there, but believe it or not, I didn't plan for things to go the way that they did. This was one of the scariest things I ever had to deal with, because I went from being a dude who was making videos in his room for you guys at home to a guy who owned a business and was painted as a evil business corporate overlord. And as someone who used to read every single comment in every video, I went down a deep, dark path of self-deprecation and grief. I tried to be the good guy, and every corner I turned, I saw videos, posts, and received real-life packages that threatened my own life. And I tried my best to downplay all of it and focused on the big picture, which was making videos for you guys. And honestly, it worked, because I realized the more videos I was making, the better I was getting at making them. My confidence, my strength, my identity was coming back. I was feeling happier with what I was making. I felt like for the first time I had started my YouTube career, I was simply me. And this led to insane projects like traveling the world for conventions, from Seattle to New York, from London to Norway. I eventually would end up working with Nintendo a lot, getting to meet Miyamoto several times, meeting Eiji Aonuma, and the CEO of Nintendo of America, Reggie. I became friends with fantastic creators on the platform of Twitch and YouTube. I've become friends with celebrities that I now call my family. I would go on to create Big Bad Bosses, which is a stupid, dumb boy band based on villains from video games. Essentially, I expanded this little company that could into an actual place for people to come and create things. And so, here I am today. The Completionist and That One Video Gamer outputs 4 new episodes of the regular Completionist show a month, with 4 other videos dedicated to the Completionist New Game Plus, which are brand new videos that don't feature Greg anymore due to legal battles between him and I, the Completionist DLC, which is update videos for new games that have DLC, my top 10 opinions on different topics, and really anything else I feel like making. From there, Super Beard Brothers outputs a new video every day, and we get to produce so many cool promotional videos for companies like Nintendo and Sega. We laugh, we cry, we struggle, but more importantly, we create. And none of this would be possible if it weren't for you guys watching this video right now. I create for you guys and you keep coming back. Above all the odds, I am still making videos for you each and every week. I am honored, I am humbled, and privileged to be able to sit down today and continue to keep my namesake up for your guys' expectations. Thank you for watching me and what I do with the team that I created. And I hope you stick around for the near future, because trust me, it's only going to get bigger and better from here.